but it's the cycle of orientation and disorientation. And we've got it up there. So at the very beginning, orientation. This is the time in life when everything is good. You know, stuff is clicking. The family life is good. Your spiritual life is good. You feel like you're connected to God through worship and through your personal study and through all those sorts of things. Everything is good. The only bad thing about this place of orientation is that it often leads to the next part of the cycle, which is complacency. And for us, when things are going well, sometimes, not for everybody all the time, but sometimes when things are going well, we're like, well, maybe I don't need to do the stuff that got me here to this place of doing well. And maybe that's in business. Maybe that's educationally. Maybe that's your spiritual life. Like, I don't really need to pray as much. I don't need to have those times of solitude and silence and surrender that really kind of got me to a place of experiencing God's presence. I don't need that stuff anymore. I don't need to serve as much. Let somebody else do that vacation Bible school thing. That's complacency. Then complacency leads to sin and infidelity. And for this is when we start to actually give into greed and give into materialism and give into lust and give into comfort, idolatry. And that leads to the next part of the cycle, which is the warnings. And that's where the voice of the prophets stepped in to warn people and say, hey, stop here, because you can short circuit the cycle right here if you listen to the warnings. And for us, those warnings come in lots of different ways. They're still there. That gut feeling you have that says, man, I need to change this. I need to stop this, or I need to start this. I mean, that's the warning, God nudging us, right? God nudging us. Or it could be a voice. It could be the voice of maybe one of your kids or your parents or a pastor or a teacher who says something, again, outside of your own voice that says, hey, you need to be aware of this. Be careful because something bad is about to happen if you continue down this path. If we don't change direction at that point, the next part on the cycle is trouble comes. We might lose a job. We might lose friendships. We might lose family. We might lose our health or our life savings. And that leads to repentance. Again, hopefully, that leads hopefully to repentance, and that's the turnaround. That's the wake up. It's when we get honest with God and realize, I've wandered away. I've done this, and I want to do something about it. That leads to reorientation, and reorientation is when I feel the presence of God again. My relationships are starting to line up again. We feel a closeness. We're filled then with gratitude, the next step on the cycle, the next place on the cycle, and that leads to orientation again. That's the cycle of orientation, disorientation, reorientation. Unfortunately, we look at our history, our spiritual history. Our ancestors over the course of 5,000 years essentially went through that cycle many times. And the challenge is breaking the cycle, isn't it? Individually, as a society, as a community of faith, so that we don't have to repeat it. And listen, you need to hear me say this. You don't have to repeat it. We do not have to repeat the cycle over and over and over again.